larger than life. It is called Texas high school football. Only one show can bring the greatest sport from the greatest state into focus. Lone Star Gridiron.
Hi there, Chris Daly, Lone Star Gridiron. I am so pleased to bring to you this inductee to the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame for the class of 2024. All right, everybody join me in welcoming John Wilkins. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Or should I say coach?
Well, but either one. Either one.
Coach is like a lifetime title, right?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Tell me about first your background, where you grew up.
Well, I actually grew up here in Waco.
Oh, nice.
I was born here, raised here, graduated from school here in Waco, met my wife here, got married here in Waco, and our first son, John, who you just met, was born here. And of course, my parents are buried here, so I've had a long connection with Waco and hadn't been back in a while, a long time, as a matter of fact. So I have some deep Waco connections.
And you play sports here?
Yes, I played at Riker High School, which is a Catholic high school. I played at Riker, and then received an athletic scholarship to Rice University in Houston. So I went to Rice, and then I graduated 4 years from Rice. And I came back here for a short time and got married, and started my coaching career actually a year later after I graduated at Cameron, Texas, which is just down the road here, 30 miles or so from Waco, and made some other moves, moved to Littlefield the next football season, was there only about 7 or 8 months, moved to Amarillo, Palador for 4 years, and as a varsity assistant, and then moved to Odessa in 1971, as an assistant coach for Gil Bartosh, who had taken the head job that spring. Mm-hmm. And so I joined him in April of 1971 and coached 2 years on the varsity there for Permian. And then, of course, Gil left and took a job as assistant coach at Texas A&M. And that's I was kind of the last man standing because it was kind of late. It was late in the year, middle of April, and spring training was coming up, and so as I said, kind of the last man standing, and I got the head job.
So at that time, was Permian Mojo? Was it as big of a power?
Well, football power, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Gene Mayfield came in 1965, took the head job at Permian. Of course, the first year they won the state championship right off the bat. Then, they went to, then in 66, San Angelo won it. San Angelo Central won the state, but Permian actually beat San Angelo that year, but they didn't qualify for, they had a tie, another loss. And then in 67, Abilene Cooper went to the state finals. Jack Miller, they probably should have won it, but they got beat by 1 point, I think. And then in 68, Permian went to the finals, got beat by Austin Reagan. Then in 70, they went to the finals again got beat by Austin Reagan. And then, of course, that's when Mayfield left, went to West Texas State, and then Bartosh got the job.
So there's a lot of pressure at taking that head coach job.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, the previous 8 years, they'd won 2 state championships and been in 2 state finals. And of course, that's back when only one team was state champion. It wasn't 2 divisions or anything. Mm-hmm. So
and only one made the playoffs.
Only one made the playoffs. Yeah, well, in our first year, with Gil's first year, we were 9-1, lost by 2 points to Abilene Cooper. And actually, we were co-champions. Cooper got beat by somebody else, but they ended up going to the playoffs. So, yeah, it was a lot of pressure, no question about it. But you'd rather be in a situation where the expectations are high, and that certainly was the case at Odessa Permian.
Right, and you had some success there.
I had a great deal of success. Yeah. We won 10 district titles. I've been 13 seasons as a head coach. Mm-hmm. We won 10 district titles, and of course 2 state championships. 2 other finalists got beat in the finals, and two other what I call, most people don't call it the semifinals, but I call it the Final Four. That's what it amounts to.
Sure.
Like in basketball, they make a big deal about the Final Four. And we went to the Final Four in 77, 78. And so we had a great run, like I said.
And talk about some of the athletes that were around you.
Yeah. Well, probably the best well-known athletes that went on to college and had some NFL success, of course, was Daryl Hunt. Daryl Hunt played, he played a little bit in the state championship game in 72. Then he was a junior in 73 and a senior in 74. He was signed by Oklahoma, and he went to the University of Oklahoma, where I don't know if this is accurate anymore or not, but it was, 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, Daryl Hunt was still the leading tackler for the University of Oklahoma. And then, of course, Brett Hager. Brett is in the High School Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact. And, of course, he played for us, and then he went on to UT, University of Texas, and played. And of course, Daryl played pro football, too. And so did Brett. And Brett was the same deal. Again, I don't know if this is still accurate or not, but as of 5, 6 years ago, Brett was all-time leading tackler at UT. So those are the two best known. But there were I had a ton of, really good high school players.
Yeah.
And, some of them went on to college, small college. Some of them went on to Division I schools, and but Hunt and Hager are the ones that had the most success at the upper level.
Right, and if you could talk about your coaching tree, because just like Mayfield's tree, you are a strong limb in that one.
Right.
What about your coaching tree?
Well, I had some of them are going to be here tonight, and I had several coaches that had success, became head coaches, had success in their own right. That includes Randy Mays, who went to the state finals at Permian, and then Tam Hollingshead, who won the state at Permian in 91. And then there's Ed Hickman, who had success at different schools, Ken Herring, who had success at different schools throughout the state. And so a number of them, like I said, Mike Ballou, who was a head coach, and not only was he a coach for us, for me, he was also a player. And there's probably some others that that had success at different levels.
Sure. And what about after your stint as head coach at Odessa? What did you?
Okay, I became AD. I became athletic director for Ector County Independent School District, which at that time, in '82, there were 3 high schools, but they closed Ector. Integration type thing, and so there were just 2 high schools when I took Odessa High and Odessa Permian. I became AD and served in that role for 12 and a half years. And, we had a great run as far as other sports go. And, of course, not only football, but other sports. We won the state championship back-to-back years in boys track and field. And I think Permian, Odessa High won it, I believe, in 92, if I'm not mistaken. And then Permian the next year, Permian won it, the state championship in boys track and field in 93. And I think that's the only time in UIL history that 2 different high schools from the same school district have won back-to-back championships. So that shows the kind of athletes that were there at that time.
Yeah. And what do you attribute that to? Were these a lot of move-ins, or is it just oil field,
Well, it was just, I don't know, you just kind of, it's kind of a, how it goes, cycles and stuff, It was just a cycle of really good athlete, Roy Williams. I mean, Roy, of course, he didn't play for me, but, he had great success at UT. And it was just like, matter of fact, he won the state championship and held the record, I think, for 1 year in the long jump. He jumped like 25 feet, or 25-2 or something. But the next year, which was kind of ironic, next year somebody broke it. So he held the state championship. I mean, you know, in the 6A long jump for 1 year, and then somebody broke it the next year. But that's, you know, the kind of athletes that
yeah. And so what do you do these days? What is your
I retired from when I retired from public school, I went over to Trinity School, which is a private school in Midland, and you know, academic prep school is what it amounts to. And I was AD their first 2 years. They were playing 6-man football, and then they went. They wanted to go 11-man, and they talked me into coaching. I coached there 2 years with Trinity, and I really enjoyed it. We were just a small school.
Yeah.
We had about, we only had about, the first year we had 20 players, and I think the next year we only had 17. But we had some success, and I enjoyed my time at Trinity.
Nice. And what does it mean to be inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame?
Well, it means a great deal. I'm at a stage of my life, of course. I'm in the later stages of my life, and it's really a great honor and a great. I'm kind of humbled by it, to be honest with you, but at the same time, I'm grateful that that this has occurred, and I'm looking forward to tonight to join the rest of the inductees.
Right on. Well, Coach Wilkins, gosh, I want to thank you so much for sitting down and sharing some of your story.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed it, really have.